I've sort of evolved.
Well, let's talk about now.
Okay, let's talk about now. I'd given up veal because I knew about the cruelty involved in the veal industry, and I learned that red meat wasn't healthy for you, but I was eating chicken and turkey like it was going out of style, thinking that they were health foods, and not being really aware of the cruelty involved. But when I got to the chapter about chickens, oh, there's some peace. When I got to the chapter about chickens in Diet for New America and learned how horrendously chickens were treated, I just stopped eating all animal products at that point. Oh my God, well, the first thing that happened was I lost 30 pounds, like almost in an instant, and got down to my ideal weight at the time, which was fabulous. And then I had more energy than I had ever had before. You know, all of a sudden I wasn't feeling lethargic. For me, lethargy was, like a natural state of being. I just thought that's the way I was going to feel my whole life. So when I had all this newfound energy, it was a real surprise and a good one. And so, that was just a bonus, because I didn't give up animal foods for my health. I gave them up because I couldn't stand to be participating in the horrendous cruelty against animals. And what I learned very quickly is that really nothing tastes better than compassion. Yeah. I think that all children have an innate compassion and love for animals, and that the culture just kills it. So we grow up with that philosophy ingrained in us, and it's very difficult for a lot of people to think otherwise. I mean, that one of the first questions a non-vegan asks a vegan is, where do you get your protein? As if the only place it exists in nutrition is in animal products, when in fact, on a calorie for calorie basis, a lot of plant foods, particularly dark leafy green vegetables, have more protein than animal foods.
What about the people who say, oh, my blood type needs iron, which I can only get from meat?
People have a million excuses that they can tell themselves and sell themselves about why they need or should or can eat animal products.
Yeah. So we kind of create our own realities with our own desires, basically. We make it true.
We believe what we want to believe, but once you're confronted with the reality, no matter how resistant you are to the idea, once you accept and understand what's really going on, and what eating animals not only does for the animals, but what it's doing to your own body, is very difficult to unlearn it. You can keep trying to push it away, but once you know.
Do you think there is a time when we should kill?
In self-defense.
That's it?
In my opinion, yeah. In my life and in my mind. I don't think there's, yeah. We are a very opportunistic species. And
so we have a history of meat eating that was kind of a survival technique, what do you think?
Well, I think in climates where, you can't grow anything for most of the year, I think if you're living in the Arctic, it's going to be nearly impossible to eat anything other than whale blubber or whatever it is you might be able to catch. But outside of that, I think we evolved as a species near the equator, where plant foods are abundant. And as a species, that is our evolutionary history, and that is our natural diet. Because we can kill things, and because we learned about fire and how to cook things, we can eat other things.
Okay.
Historically, people have been killing people forever. Does that mean that we're supposed to kill each other?
Well, do you think that has something to do with our diet too? Do you think diet and war are directly correlated?
Sure.
Involved. It's just
You
so
know,
bad.
it's physically, it was the most difficult thing I'd ever done was giving up smoking. And when I hear people tell me that they're addicted to meat, it drives me insane, because that was the easiest thing I ever did, was kick the meat habit. And dairy's another story. I mean, there are, morphine-like chemicals in milk, and people truly do get addicted, especially when they're eating a lot of cheese and ice cream, because there's 10 pounds of milk in every pound of cheese or ice cream. So, I mean, those people are truly addicted. When they say, I gotta have a piece of cheese, I mean, they mean it. Your body craves the substance, whatever it is. I mean, I'm not a doctor, so
Right.
I can't tell you on a cellular level.
Right.
But I can tell you that what happens physically when you eat animal foods, okay, it's, through the magic of, the brilliance of nature, Okay, there are foods that we can eat that support our health, and they do it on a cellular level by turning genes on and off. And animal-based protein, animal foods, turn on certain disease genes. They turn on disease-causing genes. Plant foods turn them off. I mean, that alone should be enough information for anybody to want to start choosing more plant foods and crowding out animal foods. You know, in addition to that, I mean, there's just a high correlation between, you know, obesity, diabetes, cancer of the colon, breast cancer, prostate cancer. There's this huge correlation between the risk of those diseases and the consumption of plant-based foods. Millions of people every year in this country get heart attacks, strokes, diabetes, high cholesterol, and you don't see people falling dead on the streets from protein insufficiency. Okay? The only people who die from protein deficiency are people who don't eat enough calories. Not people in this country who are not eating enough food. I mean, not eating enough protein. I mean, if you're eating enough calories, you're eating enough protein. It's really hard not to eat enough protein. And when you eat animal products, you're actually eating, you know, 200% the amount of protein that your body's designed for. As a result, you know, we see kidney disease, we see all these other diseases, you know, that you get because of animal protein.
Culturally, it seems to be so ingrained financially into creating this animal suffering. It's a business, a big, huge business.
And it's changing, and it's changing, and I didn't think I'd see it in 25 years, but let me tell you, okay? There are vegan restaurants sprouting up everywhere. I was shocked. I just got back from New Mexico. When I was there were vegan restaurants in Albuquerque, there were vegan restaurants in Santa Fe. There weren't any there when I lived there. So there's a huge awakening. The tide is turning. You know, I don't know if in our lifetimes we'll see, you know, health care that promotes a whole foods plant-based diet. I would love to see that.
Well, if we got a president who was vegetarian.
Well, vegan, we could have had one, and we didn't elect him. His name was Dennis Kucinich, and we didn't elect him. We had 2 chances. And this guy ran twice, and we could have had a vegan president.
Well, here's hoping to the future that we get one.
Yeah.
And a female would even be better. Female vegan president?
That'd be awesome.
So culturally, you think we're moving towards this apex of understanding and we're going to get there?
We have to, because the way we're living now is simply not sustainable. And if we elect people who understand the relationship between our food choices and the rest of our economy, I mean, our healthcare costs are out of control. It's all fear-driven, and once, you know, we stop being afraid, so once we stop living in a culture of violence, and the fear, you know, people will start to feel comfortable in their own skin, in their own communities, in their own countries, and self-love. And if you don't, you know, if you don't raise your children to love themselves, then how can they love anybody else? If they don't respect themselves, how can they respect each other? If they don't respect each other, how can they respect animals?
And
If they don't respect animals, how can they respect the planet? You know, children intuitively love animals. They just do. I remember being little and, you know, asking my mother about a piece of veal on my plate when I learned that it came from a baby cow. And I wondered, why is it white? Why is it so different than, you know, what a steak looks like? You know, which is a completely different color and texture and taste. And she didn't really know the answer. I don't think she had a clue how calves were chained at the neck in crates and, you know, force-fed, you know, gruel, and they couldn't turn around in their crates and were iron deprived. I don't think she knew any of that. Wouldn't it be lovely if we could all sit down to a healthy, cruelty-free meal, you know, at least once a day as a family? It would be great. Most of our energy is utilized for digestion. The simpler you eat, the fewer calories you eat. That's why people who go on fasts, who like, you know, do away with all food except, you know, just distilled water, okay? The first few days, they're like bouncing off the walls.
Especially for the early settlers, that meat was almost necessary.
Not really. I mean, the native people who were here didn't rely predominantly on animal foods. You know, they had bountiful harvests, you know, and they ate animals when they could catch one. And again, they did the complete opposite of what we, you know, white people, European settlers did. I mean, they used the whole animal, you know, for all of their needs. to get them through the winter. But in, you know, in the southern part of the country and in the warmer months, I mean, they were growing things. They were harvesting things. It's a choice. I think you said it well before when you used the word opportunistic. We are an opportunistic species, you know? And convenience isn't always in our best interest. In fact, you know, it's almost synonymous with if it's convenient, it's probably not going to be good for you. Although, honestly, there is no faster food or more convenient food than an apple or a pear or some grapes or a carrot. But no one's brain goes that way. And those foods, especially organic, are not as readily available as what we know as convenience foods. I just want people to know that there is nothing more delicious than compassion. Nothing tastes better than compassion. There's no reason to eat anything that has anything to do with cruelty.
Well said.
Then they agree.
They agree.